Welcome to today's webinar, the Rosie Girls Summer Program, a unique approach to career exploration, empowerment, and self-efficacy for middle school girls, presented by Liz Shane and Kelly Walsh. My name is Greg Nagy, and I am the Virtual Learning Community Manager from The Ohio State University, who provides technical support for the STEM Equity Pipeline Project. Before we start the presentation, I would like to go over some housekeeping items for this webinar. This webinar is scheduled to last roughly 1 hour and is being recorded in order to view this presentation in its entirety later. The recorded webinar will be available in the next few days on the stemequitypipeline.org website. As you have already found out, you will be watching the presenter present slides through the Adobe Connect interface while listening to them talk over your computer speakers. All of the participants' microphones have been automatically muted. The presenter will answer questions after the presentation. However, we will take questions at any time. This is how we will take questions. At any time during the presentation, you may submit a question by typing your question in the chat pod at the bottom right of the Adobe Connect window. We will read and respond to those questions at the end of the presentation. I would like to start the webinar by introducing Mimi Lufkin, CEO, National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity and STEM Equity Pipeline Project Director. Mimi?
Thank you very much, Greg. It's a pleasure to be here with you this afternoon on the East Coast, and it's still morning, I know, on the West Coast. So let's go ahead and get started. I think we have a great webinar to hear today. But before we get into the content, it always helps us to know a little bit about who you are and how you heard about this webinar. So the first poll I'd like to present to the group is to get some feedback from you about how you heard about the webinar, whether you heard about it from an email, from our listserv, from some other listserv. And go ahead and answer the questions, and we'll leave this open so you can see it as it pops up. Maybe someone forwarded an email to you about it. Maybe you heard about it at a conference presentation. And you'll notice that in some of these cases, the request for the response has a little parentheses that says chat afterwards. The purpose about that is if you wouldn't mind if it was actually at a conference or from another listserv or maybe an announcement in another newsletter, that down on the bottom part of the screen in the chat function, you can actually enter the name of the newsletter or the conference. And that always helps us know a little bit more about where the information is coming from. Let's see, we'll get the poll back up here and see what our response is looking like. Oh, interesting. Usually the email list is the largest response rate in this particular poll when we do webinars, but it looks like this time we're having some great peer-to-peer collaboration going on. So I'm glad to know that many of you are hearing from your colleagues about the activities that we have. But I want to encourage you, if you would like to get on our listserv directly, just go to stemequitypipeline.org and register on the website. What that does is it registers you for our listserv, and you can receive announcements about these webinars and other professional development opportunities directly from us. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close this poll and move on to the slides. Thanks, Greg. There are three goals. I think I flipped by a slide. Sorry. The STEM Equity Pipeline is a project of the National Alliance for Partnerships and Equity Education Foundation, funded by the National Science Foundation from the Gender and Science and Engineering program at NSF. We always like to recognize NSF because they have been a great contributor to our work, and without them, this webinar would not be possible. The project has three goals: to build a formal education community, really looking at professional development in gender equity in STEM. This webinar, of course, is part of that particular goal. We also work with schools and states to look at how to institutionalize strategies, research-based strategies that can affect the participation of women and girls in STEM-related programs and study. And we do a lot of work in career and technical education, of course, around the non-accountability measure. And then lastly, to broaden the commitment to gender equity in STEM education in general. So we hope that one of the things that you'll do as a result of this particular webinar, besides, of course, implementing a Rosie program in your community, would be to share this information with others so that they might also learn more about how to increase girls' access to STEM programs. do this through a variety of methods: professional development and teacher training, much like what we are doing here, consulting and technical assistance with state and local educational agencies. We also have a virtual web-based professional learning community where we share resources, and the STEM Equity Pipeline website has many of that. We also have SharePoint sites for all the state teams, and they do a lot of collaborative online there as well. And we're going to be, there will be a best practices, actually it's a website now. Originally it was a handbook that we had thought about putting together, but it's a virtual place on a website that we'll be launching sometime in the fall as a result of the things that we've learned from this particular project. So how can you get involved? These are the current states that are engaged in work here with the STEM Equity Pipeline. If you're from one of those states, I recommend that you go to the STEM Equity Pipeline website, identify there who the on the state team pages, the state contact name and contact information is available. You can connect with them. But also, of course, being on the listserv and participating in online activities at our national conference, which happens to be next week. I hope to see many of you there. There are lots of opportunities to get involved if your state is not a participating state in the project at this time. So our last poll is to find out who you are. This will help Kelly and Liz a little bit with thinking about how they do their presentation and what things they might highlight. So let's find out who's on the call or who's on the webinar today. You'll just respond quickly to whether you're a school or college administrator, teacher or faculty member, counselor, student services staff, state agency staff, from a STEM organization, staff person, a community-based organization, or there's always the other option. You can let us know who you are by typing in your title of your position or where you are from the chat function, and Liz and Kelly will see those as they come up. So it looks like we've got probably a good smattering of folks across all categories, but it looks like a majority of counselors or student services staff. So Kelly and Liz, as this continues to grow here, we'll see. We also have quite a few school and college administrators as well. So great. These are, of course, these are all people who have the potential to implement Rosie's Girls programs in their community. So I'm going to go ahead and close this poll now and get back to the slides. I want to remind you all that at the end of the webinar, you will receive a link to our evaluation survey. We have this slide because sometimes people watch these webinars afterwards in an archive version. But what you want to do is watch for a web page tab that'll pop up in your web browser at the end of the webinar. Please go right to the link and respond to the evaluation survey immediately. It helps us in planning our webinars. So that's enough of housekeeping business and learning about the STEM Equity Pipeline in general. I'd like to go ahead now and introduce our two speakers to you. Both of these individuals have been involved in the Rosie's Girls Summer Program for many, many years. And I think we have some great expertise to learn from them. So Liz Shane is the co-founder of the Rosie's Girls Program and continues to serve in an advisory capacity to the program. She was a middle and high school administrator at a girls' school in Manhattan and has a particular interest in social and emotional development of young girls. Liz developed the Rosie's Girls Program and its curricular materials and has supported the replication of the program since 2001, including on-site training, technical assistance, and conducting a training institute. Liz is currently the interim head of school at the schoolhouse in South Burlington, Vermont, a K-6 elementary school. Liz holds a master's in public administration from Columbia University and an AP in history from Harvard University. Her partner in this presentation today is Kelly Walsh. Kelly is a program coordinator at Vermont Works for Women, where her focus is delivering quality, effective programming for middle and high school girls. Among other programs, Kelly is responsible for the planning, implementation, and evaluation of the Rosie's Girls Summer Program in Essex and Barre, Vermont, as well as supporting Rosie's Girls replication sites around the state and across the country. Kelly has worked with nonprofit organizations benefiting children and youth for the past 9 years in Vermont, New York, New Mexico, Virginia, and Utah. She received a BA in sociology from Mary Washington College in Fredericksburg, Virginia, and is an associate of the Vermont Leadership Institute's class of 2009. further ado, I'm going to turn the program over to Liz and Kelly and let them share with us about Rosie's Girls Summer Program.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Mimi and Greg, for having us. We're really thrilled to be here. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. I would love to start talking with you about Rosie's Girls, but first we'll talk a little bit about Vermont Works for Women. We are a 25-year-old nonprofit, and our mission is to help women and girls recognize their potential and explore, pursue, and excel in work that leads to economic independence. Some statistics around why this work is necessary. 70% of all elderly people living in poverty are women. The median annual salary of a female high school dropout is $10,000 less than that of her male counterpart. And over half of women living in poverty are single women with no children. And Vermont Works for Women, we provide innovative job training and educational programs for women and girls. And we work with a wide variety of people, including women looking to enter the trades and technical fields, middle school and high school aged youth, women who are currently or have been previously incarcerated, women entering the workforce and coming off of state assistance, and more. You can learn about any of our programs at vtworksforwomen.org, but today we're here to talk about Rosie's Girls. So the goals for the next hour are to talk with you about the Rosie's Girls Summer Program and how you might be able to bring this to your area. So what is Rosie's Girls? It's a 3-week summer trades exploration camp for middle schoolers. We expose girls to educational and career opportunities that are considered non-traditional for women. And we offer hands-on instruction in the skilled trades and science, technology, engineering, and math fields. Rosie's Girls encourages girls to develop and strengthen their capacities and confidence and helps expand their perception of the career options available to them. And we do this using a range of complementary activities to encourage self-expression and growth. Rosie's Girls was piloted by Vermont Works for Women in 2000 by Liz Shane, my co-presenter, and Rebecca Esch, who I have learned is on the call with us today. So welcome, Rebecca. Thanks so much for being here. We run 2 programs of Rosie's Girls from Vermont Works for Women in Essex, Vermont, and in Barrie. And it is also running in other sites in Vermont, California, Ohio, South Carolina, New York, Connecticut, and Rhode Island. And maybe after today, a few more states. Rosie's Girls is also recognized as a best practice program by the National Coalition of Girls Programs. And over the past 12 years, we have over 1,500 program graduates. So what is it about Rosie's Girls that's unique and effective? We talked about how we have the hands-on skilled trades. Most of the camps use carpentry as our main focus. We do that for the whole 3 weeks. And then we'll have different folks come in to teach us car repair, bike repair, welding, electrical wiring, and things like that for different times. We complement that with arts activities, both visual arts and things like drumming, singing, and yoga. We do physically challenging activities, which is an opportunity for girls to actually very literally step outside of their comfort zone and try something new. We have what we call a girls' world, which is an opportunity for us to talk with girls about the societal expectations of girls and young women and get to the root of those expectations, talking about racism, sexism, media literacy, and a way to combat all of these things. And we also offer community service projects. These programs are well supported in their communities all over the country, and this is an opportunity for girls to give back. So you'll see down here in the corner a girl sitting in a doghouse that was built and donated to a local humane society, for example. And of course, we have just good old summertime, summer camp fun. And if I can give you any advice today, it would be to invest in something as simple as a sprinkler and a hose, because you'll see that these girls are playing in the parking lot behind the tech center and having the time of their life. It's great for the days that you don't plan on going to the pool, but it's brutally hot outside. The program goals for Rosie's Girls are threefold. We first and foremost want to increase girls' self-confidence and their self-efficacy, what they see themselves as capable of. We want to expose girls to a variety of trades and technical fields and encourage the participants, as well as the adults in their lives, to challenge the societal expectations for girls and women. Through Rosie's Girls, girls are challenged to develop a broader sense of their capacities and capabilities. We want them to consider careers where women are underrepresented, and sometimes drastically so, as is the case with a lot of the STEM fields. Develop new areas of physical and emotional confidence. And we want them to expand their math and science skills through concrete applications. We sometimes call this secret math, when girls don't realize that they're using their math skills in everyday settings, using the tape measure and things like that, and when they don't realize how thrilled they're getting about physics as they're launching bottle rockets in the parking lot. And then, of course, we want them to push past preconceived notions. To talk a little bit more about how Rosie's Girls addresses the gender gap in science and technology, engineering and math fields, I'm going to pass it over to Liz Shane. Great, thanks, Liz. So as Liz mentioned, over the past few years, we've been lucky enough to work with the researchers from UVM and St. Michael's College. And the most recent data, the 2011 numbers are still being crunched, but the data from 2010 indicates statistically significant changes in the following areas, which helps us support the assertions that Rosie's Girls is a powerful way to increase girls' self-efficacy and resilience, as well as shift their beliefs about careers that may be open to them. So I'm going to read some of the data that we got back, and I promise not to bore you with it, but I do think it's important to point out. So around the topic of attitudes towards occupational sex roles, girls were asked a series of questions to assess their attitudes about men's and women's abilities to do careers that are stereotypically male or stereotypically female, and whether or not those ideas changed during the course of the program. Responses showed a statistically significant decline in participants' view of certain stereotypically male occupations as being for men only, including engineer, auto mechanic, electrician, and sports writer. Under skill development, responses indicate statistically significant gains in campers' comfort level and skill level in non-traditional career areas. Statistically significant, and also a statistically significant positive shift away from stereotypical beliefs about the appropriateness of careers in trades and technical fields for women, which is exactly what we want to see. Looking at hopefulness and goal formation is seen as one measurable and valid approach to assessing information about the more ephemeral concept of self-worth. Camper responses on a standard measure of hope indicated a statistically significant positive impact on girls' goal formation and goal pursuing behaviors and on their general level of hopefulness. Around challenging gender, responses indicate a statistically significant increase in campers' willingness to challenge commonly held gender assumptions in many areas. And then for camper self-concept, the responses indicate statistically significant improvement in general self-description and emotional stability, supporting the assertion that participation in Rosie's Girls has a positive impact on campers' self-concept and the ability to navigate challenging situations. So this data is all really what helps us support what we're saying, we're doing what we do. And another thing that can help paint that picture for us is the information that we get from the girls and their parents. So on the bottom left here, you'll quote one of our campers who was returning this training. From our third year, that it was awesome, done, period, end of story. And that's just what we love to hear from the girls. Another participant said, the only thing about welding that I didn't like is that we don't get to do it again tomorrow. And welding is often a very popular activity. Some other girls have said that 23 other girls and I learned skills that will stick with us throughout life. Women and men are equal and nobody is going to tell me different. I feel good working with other girls, and this is a concept that we see over and over again, where we, at the beginning of camp, or when we're going around and talking to girls about the program, girls will say to us, well, I just don't get along with other girls. And it's very important for us at Rosie's Girls to foster an environment with very positive female relationships. And so we love to see this change happen.
Kelly, I'm sorry, I need to interrupt you for a second, yeah.
Okay. Oh. Oh, okay. Sorry about that. I know it's hard when you're trying to listen and it's hard to hear. But we have also heard from girls how they have come out of their comfort zone, and I can express how I feel more, which is always nice to hear. As far as the parents, we often hear from folks that when they're talking to their daughters about what happens at school, that they get the one-word answer that Liz was talking about earlier. But when it comes to Rosie's girls, they won't shut up about it.
And realize
that's something
that
the parents really
in
enjoy,
every single one of
ride
the areas
home
that
from
NAEP
camp with their
identified
daughters.
as being an
So some
important
parents have
strategy, there
said
was a way that
she
Rosie's
shared
girls
not only with me, but
addressed
with anyone who would
that
listen.
reason
Our
for
daughter has
girls
attended
not
many other day
continuing
camps,
on
and
in
never has
STEM
she shown so
education,
much
despite the fact
enthusiasm.
that
And
their
her focus
aptitude
has changed from
is
traditional
there.
career
So
options
pardon
to
me
looking
if
at new
many of you are very familiar with this information, but
Before
I'm
I
going
move on
to
to community impact, are there any questions
explain it as
about any of
quickly
this,
as I can.
or
There's
were
a
you able
happy
to
girl.
hear me over all the rattling?
So in the area, I think I'm going to go back and
I guess you could write in the chat area if you have any. Yep.
Yeah, Kelly, this is me. The only question that came up, actually, I think Liz may have responded to in the chat, was about a little bit about the structure of the camp and whether or not it
move forward in math or in science,
typically
then they
held
might
in one location,
not
or
persevere
do
in
you
those
often take
non-traditional
girls out
areas. And also
for
it's
settings
in the area of education, it
part of
talks
their
about
experience?
classroom
Great question.
atmosphere.
The two
And so in
programs that
Rosie's
we
Girls,
run
we really
in
do address
Vermont
all
from
of
Vermont
those. Our
Works for Women
curriculum
are
is
both
obviously
held at local
a
technical
non-traditional
centers.
curriculum with
So
a
we
lot
are
of
lucky
fun
enough
and a
to
lot
have
of art
access to all
thrown
the different
in there.
shops that we
So
need to
during
use
the course of
for
a day, a
the
girl will do
carpentry and
two
welding
different
and auto repair.
trades-related
And then we
activities,
also often have
whether
space
it's
that we can
welding
use for many of
and
the other
carpentry.
activities, like the
Maybe in
electrician
one
coming in
day,
and the
they'll
girls
also
building
do
lamps
an
or
arts
things like
activity
that.
that's all
We
about
definitely do go on
self-expression and
field
also
trips,
about reflecting
and it
on
would really
who they
be up
are
to
or
each
what they've
individual
learned.
site to figure out
And then
where
they
they wanted
also
to
have
host
opportunities to
each
play
of these
games. And
activities.
again, we
But I have
encourage kind of
found,
new
as being the one
games,
to
leadership
organize
kinds of
when
games
we'll
where
have different trades,
while they're
that
called
it's very
games,
helpful to
they're
have
very
access to those things
educational.
right on
And so
site.
every single piece of it has an intention of moving girls forward and having them have more of an understanding of themselves and of these careers. So obviously, in the category of career information, the report talks about the importance of having gender equitable career information distributed to
That's a
all
great question.
students.
So down
And,
below in the
clearly
bottom left
Rosie's
corner
Girls
there, you'll see a
in
number
part
of
came
things
into
that we
being
have
because
put
that
up
doesn't
for
really
you to be
happen
able
in a
to
lot of
use
places.
and check
And that
out
this
as
is
you're
an
considering
opportunity
Rosie's Girls for your
for
area,
girls to see
including
other women in careers
curriculum
that they might not
sampler,
already have
a
seen them
sample
in,
budget, this
or
full
to
PowerPoint,
try out certain things
and
that no
then
one else
a
might have ever
document
said,
that
hey,
talks
give it a
about
try.
Rosie.
You want to be a welder? Let's go weld and let's see what that looks like. Or maybe you want to be an engineer, so you better learn how to repair a car first. So they get that kind of information, and then when you hit at girls in middle school, you're also, as the NAEP report points out, you're also hitting them in a really important moment, because by middle school, by the end of middle school, girls and all students are starting to make decisions about their next steps in education. And when they have choice, if they make some choices in terms of higher level math or higher level science, they might rule out STEM careers just by default. And so if girls understand that at age 11 or 12 that these careers could really be fun for them and that they might earn a really good living at these careers, they might make different choices. And as Kelly said, the sort of secret learning, the secret math, they might actually see that, wow, and I like math, or I'm good at math in a way that I didn't think that I was. Another area that the NAEP report talks about as there being kind of gender differences that affect choices about STEM and STEM careers and STEM education are in familial attitudes. And I would say the familial attitudes and the societal attitudes really kind of feed one another, so that parents don't necessarily think to tell their girls that they should look at the technical high school in their area, or that they should do a program that would require them to do building or engineering. And so by having the girls attend Rosie's Girls, or having them go to a program, a lot of the programs are based at the technical high school, so going into the technical high school and seeing that it's an option for them. Because it's young girls, families are often bringing them there, so they're getting to interact with the program also, which can't help but have parents have a different attitude. We also more explicitly encourage programs to bring families in, to have a presentation at some point that really kind of says to families, look, if this program turns your girl on, here are the opportunities in our community that will let her move forward. So girls can do Rosie's Girls depending on the age span that your program would decide to do, but for 3 years, and then there might be counselor and training opportunities and a few other opportunities. But there are probably other opportunities in your communities that you would then want to tell families all about. So in one program, we have a guidance counselor from the technical center come and talk to parents and take their questions. So again, we're really trying to take the whole world that's affecting a girl and have her be held and understand that she could easily go into a career in STEM. Another area that the NAEP report identified as a reason for these gender disparities is internal factors. So it's a sense of girls knowing about what is my own ability, what is it that I can do, and not thinking that they need to know the answer before they've actually learned it. So all of the approach in Rosie's Girls is about saying to a girl, look, we don't expect you to know how to do this. And we have this great advantage of doing things like welding or like engineering where most girls really haven't done it. So everyone's starting sort of from nothing or from very little knowledge, and they get to see themselves learn something that they never thought that they might actually do. So here come the firefighters with their big fire truck. They have a ladder that reaches up into the clouds, and there are girls who never thought that they could get that high, and they do, or they get halfway up and they're really proud of themselves. So affecting that internal sense, that can-do attitude is really part of what we try to support. And for girls who already have a really strong sense of that, we're going to push them even further and ask them to think, well, what's hard for you? And what is it that you're going to try to do? We also internally ask the girls to, as the NAEP report recommends, to do some self-affirmation, to look back at what they've done. Built into the curriculum are all kinds of reflective activities. So if we're doing a game after lunch, where we're asking the girls to do a trust walk, like you may have done, we don't stop there. We then ask them to reflect back on what was it like? What was it like to trust your partner? What was it like to have your eyes closed? How did it feel? Same thing with learning new things. We ask the girls to reflect back on what it is that they knew or what they didn't know, so that they're really getting that internal affirmation that they've gone from maybe not knowing something at all to knowing it better, or to knowing a little bit to knowing a lot. Other of those internal factors are those sort of internalized gender assumptions. So I'm a girl, I'm not supposed to get dirty, if that's what it is. And that's obviously affected by family attitudes and societal attitudes. And we ask the girls to challenge those assumptions about themselves. And it's not that we're asking them to be boyish, it's not that we're asking them to be not feminine, but we're just asking them to be whole and to try to see themselves as whole individuals. Societal attitudes also, the NAEP report talks about as an area where it makes it hard for girls to continue forward in their education and in their careers in STEM, because our society doesn't always support that. It doesn't support women in seeking out those kinds of careers. It's the media, it's their peers, who are their role models. And so again, Rosie's Girls explicitly attacks each of those areas. So as Kelly mentioned, in the Girls World activities, we do look at media images of women. We ask the girls to consider, what are these images telling us? So you're seeing scantily clad women standing around a group of men. What's the message to you, and what's the message to men? Or we're looking at wage earnings in different career areas and asking them, why do you think that, which are the better paid careers and which are the careers that are predominantly men, predominantly women? And at 11 or 12, most of them have not spent a lot of time thinking about it. So a lot of Rosie's Girls is planting seeds. It's planting seeds of asking questions, of being a critical thinker about what our world is like. We definitely have parents who say, my child has started talking about stereotypes in the media images that she sees in a way that she didn't before, and just as much as learning to build a toolbox or to build a house. Those attitudes and ways of being are what Rosie's Girls is about. So there's our happy Rosie's girl. She's building a stone wall at one of our sites. So the next slides, I've really gone through what these different slides say. I'm going to kind of speed through them, and you can definitely refer back to those. Let's see if I left anything out. Nope. So there they are. There's a welder, imagining, some of these girls are little, 10, 11 years old, getting to bend metal is really quite extraordinary. So it sounds good. We can talk, a pretty game about what this is, but we also have done a lot of data collection to be able to really substantiate that we know that a lot of what we're doing in Rosie's Girls actually works. Every site that's involved with Rosie's Girls, we ask to collect both qualitative and quantitative data to help understand the program's impact on its participants. We developed those, actually, Rebecca, who's on the line, and I developed those many, many, many years ago, and we worked with Wellesley College in our initial years, and then over the last few years, we've been working with some researchers at the University of Vermont. Dr. Jackie Weinstock has been our primary person, and also at St. Michael's College, to help improve those assessment tools and to really try to get at that notion of, what are the girls getting from this program? Both, we're asking questions like, can you use a chop saw, to how do you feel about yourself? And so we also collect data from their parents and guardians, asking them what they feel like their children's takeaway was from the program. And asking an 11 or 12-year-old to kind of reflect on herself. You all know, if you've worked with middle schoolers, that you often get one-word answers, and so the parental reflections are also equally important. And I think in terms of involving the parents, it's really important to get their feedback too. Whoops. Let's see. So I'm going to turn this back over to Kelly now and let her talk a little bit about what our data has said.
Kelly and Liz, you've done a fabulous job. I love this program, always have. I want to go to Rosie's Girls. So I'd like to encourage, it's been great actually having the two of you present because one or the other of you have been answering questions in the chat while the other one is presenting. So I have actually no outstanding questions at this point, but looks like we're going to have a few of them pop up here in the chat. So let's see, we'll start with the one from Michael. Is this program only for middle school girls grades 6 through 8? There's a question about how do the girls get to Rosie's Girls? Selected, recommended? Is there an open enrollment program? How do low-income girls gain access? So.
Do you want me to take over here? Go ahead. Sure. So we're still talking about the impact of the program, and Kelly really went over the impact directly on the participants who are involved. And the other way that this program has an impact is on the broader community in trying to shift attitudes about what it is that girls should be or what it is that they should do. One way is this really, really tangible idea of doing community service projects out in the world. So if a group of 11, 12, 13-year-old girls have built a picnic table that's then donated to maybe the technical school where they're doing the program, or maybe to a senior center, or maybe to a daycare, then that organization will remember that this was a group of girls that came and built this incredibly high-quality, lasting donation. So you saw the picture of the doghouse. Each program around the country will come up with different ways of doing their community service, but we do encourage that as part of the program. Another way that the broader community is affected is in terms of recruitment into technical high schools. So, you know, we all know that there's gender disparity in who goes into technical high schools that are, you know, very STEM focused. And that by either holding a camp at the technical high school or bringing in someone from there, or bringing in young mentors from the school, that girls and their families will know that that is a potential option, or that there may be a program or two that they might want to look at. And so the hope is to continue to try to shift some of those numbers. And then there's sort of an incalculable impact on the staff that participates in the program and on community members beyond the family members. So whether it's a funder who comes and who comes to visit the program and gets really jazzed up about the idea, or it's other people in the technical high school who see, oh wow, you know, this is great. You know, if you have a staff member from the high school teaching in the program, and
guest
it might
instructors
change their
come in
approach
to teach
to
the
girls
various trades.
in some
So
way.
carpentry,
One
welding,
example,
and all the other
specific
activities
example
that we do
is the
throughout the few
program
weeks.
in Santa
And
Monica,
we also
California,
have
which has been
girls
around
who
since
have been to the program before
2001,
come
actually
back
takes
as
place
counselors
in the
in
city
training
yards
and
in
eventually junior
Santa
counselors
Monica.
to help support the
And
program.
it started by a group of really powerful women
Because I know you
who
mentioned earlier that
work
the
within
girls
the
who've been
city,
involved in
and one of them
Rosie's
was able
Girls
to secure a
often
spot
reflect
for
their
Rosie's Girls
expertise. Do you have
right
an
in the
overall,
city yards. And
any
then
kind of
she
overall
started encouraging
demographic
her
information
employees
about
to
those who
spend part of the
participated in
day
all
helping the
those years?
girls learn whether it was firefighting and using the jaws of life, or whether it was being the city arborist or something else. And the the woman who was involved with Rosie's Girls said, you know, at first there was this great skepticism about having girls on their turf and then being asked to
I
come
can
in
speak
and
to
help them out.
a
And
few of those demographics
now
from the past few
the staff
years,
at the
just in
city
the
yards,
ethics
the
and
Santa
dairy
Monica
camps.
city employees
Last
beg
year I know
to
that
come and be a
85%
part
of the
of
girls
the
who
Rosie's
went to
Girls
those two
program. The
camps
girls
received
have
some form of
jumpsuits that
financial
say
aid.
the city of Santa
And we
Monica, and
predominantly
they have their
have
tool belts, and
white
they stride
girls
around the
attending
city
because
yards, and they
Vermont
are
is a very white
absolutely
state. I
a
would say we
welcome
usually have
part
out of the
of
26
the
girls
program.
in
So
each camp, we
again,
usually
in terms of
might have
shifting
3 or 4
attitudes,
girls of color.
you really can't go wrong with having a lot
But
of
the
people
last
involved
question
in the
that's
program
here, I
who,
know, Liz,
you know,
there have been
you might want to
communication
nudge
already about
along
this,
a
but
little
maybe you
bit
can
in a different way.
extrapolate about the idea
So that's
of
really what we've been,
turning this into a year-long
that's what we
after-school
prepared to
model
talk about
rather
in
than
terms
a
of sort
summer
of
camp,
program
intensive summer camp
impact.
program. Has
And
anyone ever tried that, or is
I'm
this
sure a
something
lot
that
of
we
you
will
wonder, how
try
does
out?
this happen? How do we bring Rosie's Girls to our community, and what does it need to look like? So a lot of different people have replicated Rosie's Girls. We've had individuals who've said, I heard about it, I want to do it. We've had girls' schools come forward and say, you know, we run summer camp programs, we'd like to offer Rosie's Girls as a strand at our school. Technical high schools have run Rosie's Girls themselves and also have participated in the running of other Rosie's Girls programs. Then there have been just consortia of local organizations, whether it's a YWCA and the National Association of Women in Construction. That's one group in Ohio. Those two groups have come together to offer Rosie's Girls. There are YMCAs that are involved. You name it, it could happen. And then, as I talked about, the city of Santa Monica is an example of a municipality that's involved. It's been run in urban settings, rural settings, suburban settings. We've had predominantly African American, predominantly Asian, predominantly white, because it started in Vermont, and that's what things look like here. And we've had girls from a really broad range of economic abilities, families with different economic abilities. And we really can say that the program has a positive impact in all of those areas, and that is adaptable to the girls that might come to your program. And I think that's one of the things that Kelly and I wanted to emphasize, is that while we have
Kelly
a
and Liz,
curriculum and we have
so
certain
much
expectations
for,
that I can talk
sharing with
about in a
us all the
minute,
great work you've been doing
we
on
know that
all
each
these
place is
years.
different, and people have access
And
to
I know
different
that,
resources and
thank you. I was just going to say,
different
I know
girls,
that there may be
and that
participants on the
things
call who
that
will
might have
follow-up
worked in
questions
one site might need
they'd
to be
like to
tweaked a
ask.
little bit to
So
work
for
somewhere
those
else.
of you
So
who
even
didn't
with
get
our
your question
evaluation
answered,
tools, we got some
all of a
feedback from
sudden,
some sites
later
that
this
said, you know,
evening, you'll
our
think of something
population is
I
not
assume
going to be comfortable
that is
answering
perfectly
these questions.
appropriate
We're just
for
going to
you
leave
to
out this
communicate
part.
with
And we
Kelly
said,
and Liz, right?
absolutely, that is what you need to do.
Okay, good.
So in terms of what makes a successful
And I again
replication
want to thank
site,
all of you for
what makes
participating
it
in
work, so
today's webinar.
far and away, it's
Sponsored
determination
by
and grit.
the
It's saying,
Senate
I want to do this,
Pipeline.
and I'm going to make it happen. We at Vermont Works for Women will work as closely as you need us to work with you in planning and in getting things up and running. But each site is responsible for really making it happen, and someone has to hold the reins, and it needs to be someone who's committed to doing it. And then what we've learned over the years is that having a combination of expertise included in the program is really important. So someone who knows how to run programming. Someone who has
One thing I forgot to
understanding of
mention at the
girls'
beginning,
development.
and you might have
Someone
seen it
who's
typed
able
in
to
the chat notes, is
provide
that there
access
are
to
files
some
that you can
facility
download,
that would
including the
have some
slides from
tools
today.
and
That's
a
in the
shop,
files pod at the
or
bottom left
is
of
open
your
to bringing
screen.
all of those
You
things
just click
into
on the
their
file and then you
facility.
click on
And
Save
then
to My
having
Computer
some
button,
access to
and it
skilled
opens the
trades
file in a
people,
separate
preferably women, but not
window in your
necessarily, who kind
separate
of get
tab
what
in
the
your
whole
browser,
approach is, or
and
at
in that
least
will be a
are
link that you click on
open
to
to
download
learning
the
about
file.
it.
And also at this
And
time, I'm
then
going to pull
there's
up
a creativity to the
survey.
replication, which is really taking what we offer as a curriculum and as broad parameters
And what this should do
and
right
making
now
it your
is
own.
it should
We really
open the
do
survey
encourage
on
sites
everyone's computer
to use
in their
the
browser in another tab or
curriculum
another
as
browser.
a launching
And we would like you to
point,
fill that out for
as
us
much
right
as
now.
a
If you don't have time right now, I'll also be emailing
So there are
this.
different ways that different
so you
sites
can do that at a
have
later
kind of
time.
tailored the program. We had a site
And
that
just to finish off then, thank you for joining
as
us
the
today.
program is structured,
And remember that
carpentry
this
is
webinar
kind
will
of the
be
trade
available
that
on the
happens
STEM
every
Equity
single